Science can sometimes tell us what an artifact is, but why it exists, or what it was really used for, is where archaeologists often can fall short. One of the most puzzling, unsolved mysteries in the world is the Voynich manuscript, a book that says a lot, but no one can read it. Then there's the Antikythera mechanism, the Phaistos disk, and the Baghdad battery. These finds have puzzled experts for decades. But they're not the only discoveries we can't explain. There are many more out there, and in this video, we're looking at some of the most mind-bogglingly mysterious ones. So, let's get started with number 15. The ancient tomb of 20 women archaeologists working at the ancient site of Tholos de Montelirio in Spain discovered a burial unlike almost anything found before. Within the circular tomb rested the remains of more than 20 women, yet no men were present. That detail alone would have been enough to attract attention, but the extraordinary discovery surrounding them made the site even more weirdly remarkable. The women buried near the center were covered with an astonishing number of white beads. Some estimates suggest more than 270,000 beads accompanied the dead. Researchers believe they were once attached to elaborate garments, possibly tunics, skirts, or ceremonial clothing worn during life. Producing such an enormous quantity required material from thousands of mollusks and countless hours of labor. The burial dates back roughly 48 centuries. Evidence suggests the women held exceptional status within their society. Similar tombs have been found elsewhere, but none match the sheer scale, like this. Carbon dating also indicates many of the women died within a relatively short period. Why they were buried together remains one of the site's greatest unanswered questions today. Number 14. The hand that spoke for heaven. Ancient inscriptions usually leave historians arguing over names, dates, or missing words. This one adds something far stranger to the conversation. Discovered at Khirbet el-Qalm in the West Bank, the artifact combines a carved hand with 6 lines of ancient Hebrew writing dating back roughly 2,700 years to the Kingdom of Judah. The inscription mentions a man named Uriyahu and invokes the protection of Yahweh. But the real focus isn't the text, it's the hand placed at its center. The symbol appears deliberate, almost as if the message required a signature beyond human authorship. Researchers have proposed several interpretations. Some link it to divine protection. Others view it as a sacred seal marking a covenant or blessing. A few suggest it may represent the direct intervention of a higher power. None of those explanations can be proven. What remains is a stone carrying religion, symbolism, and personal belief in a single message. Number 13. The cairn that arrived too early. Rosslyn Chapel was completed in the mid-1400s, and almost every inch of it is covered in carvings. Angels, biblical scenes, plants, symbols, and patterns crowd the stonework so densely that visitors still notice details nobody mentioned before. One carving, however, has sparked arguments for generations. Near a chapel window is a cluster of stone leaves that many people believe resembles maize or corn. That wouldn't sound unusual until you remember one problem. Maize was native to the Americas. According to conventional history, Europeans didn't encounter it until after Columbus reached the New World in 1492. Rosslyn was already standing decades earlier. Supporters of the mystery often point to Prince Henry Sinclair, a Scottish nobleman who some believe sailed west across the Atlantic around 1398. There is no proof of that voyage, but the theory refuses to disappear. Others claim additional carvings resemble aloe and cactus plants, species unknown in medieval Scotland. Botanists usually dismiss those identifications. But the debate continues because these corn carvings simply shouldn't exist. Number 12. The rock that shouldn't exist. People have been arguing about Waffle Rock for decades, and the reason becomes obvious the moment you see it. Sitting in West Virginia, the sandstone formation displays a rarely regular grid pattern crossing its surface. At first sight, it looks less like a product of nature and more like something carefully designed. Geologists insist the explanation is straightforward. According to studies, the rock formed hundreds of millions of years ago when natural fractures developed in sandstone. Minerals later filled those cracks, creating the raised lattice visible today. From a scientific perspective, the case appears closed. Not everyone agreed with that answer. Critics point to the unusual symmetry of the pattern and question why similar formations are so rarely encountered. The lines intersect with such consistency that many visitors struggle to accept they emerged without human involvement. Perhaps nature simply produced an extraordinary coincidence. Perhaps there is another explanation waiting to be discovered. Either way, Waffle Rock continues attracting attention because it looks exactly like something it supposedly isn't. Number 11. The forgotten artists of Canaima. Huge cliffs and dramatic landscapes dominate Venezuela's Canaima National Park, but some of its most important treasures were left behind by people whose names disappeared thousands of years ago. Across the region, researchers have documented numerous rock art sites, preserving traces of an ancient culture that remains poorly understood. Painted mainly in red pigment, the artwork ranges from simple geometric designs to figures representing people, plants, and scenes from daily life. Some images appear connected to hunting, while others may represent ceremonies, beliefs, or important moments within the community. Over time, carved petroglyphs joined painted pictographs, showing an evolution in artistic expression. Archaeologists believe many of these creations may be 4,000 years old or even older. Pottery fragments and stone tools discovered nearby provide additional clues about the people responsible for the artwork. Some tools may have even been used in creating the images themselves. Although much remains unknown, these beautiful paintings preserve fragments of a forgotten world. Number 10. The woman carved from marble. Long before Athens, Sparta, or any of the famous names tied with ancient Greece, people were already living, trading, and creating art among the islands of the Aegean Sea. One of the most intriguing examples comes from a tiny settlement called Saliagos. Archaeologists working at the site found a small marble figurine that would later become known as the Fat Lady of Saliagos. The sculpture is simple in look, but it has become one of the most valuable artifacts from the Neolithic Cyclades. Its rounded form has led researchers to connect it with fertility, motherhood, or religious belief, but certainty remains out of reach. The settlement itself revealed evidence of fishing, trade, craftsmanship, and a surprisingly organized community. But none of those finds answered the question surrounding the figurine. Why was it made? Unlike later civilizations, the people of Saliagos left no written stuff. The artist who carved the figure, the purpose it served, and the meaning it carried vanished thousands of years ago, leaving only silent stone behind. Number 9. The belt that arrived too early. History occasionally produces an artifact that seems determined to start arguments. The Nanjing belt is one of them. In 1952, workers preparing land in Ying City, China, uncovered an ancient tomb believed to belong to a military figure known as Chu. Buried beside the skeleton were fragments of a ceremonial belt. At first, the discovery attracted little attention. Then, laboratory analysis produced an unexpected result. The metal appeared to contain aluminum. That finding created an immediate problem. Aluminum was not successfully isolated until the 19th century and remained difficult to produce for decades afterward. Yet the tomb itself dated back many centuries before that breakthrough. Researchers questioned whether contamination, misidentification, or even forgery might explain the anomaly. None of those possibilities completely settled the debate. The warrior buried inside the tomb had already become a legendary figure in Chinese tradition. The belt only added another layer to the story. Number 8. The face hidden above Templecombe during the summer of 1944. While Europe was still consumed by war, a woman named Molly Drew walked into a garden shed in the village of Templecombe looking for firewood. Instead, she found a face staring back at her. Attached to the rafters was a painted wooden panel covered by dust, plaster, and years of neglect. The image showed a bearded figure against a decorated background filled with stars and rich colors. Nobody knew how long it had been hidden there, but one detail immediately stood out. The shed sat only a short distance from the site of a former Knights Templar preceptory established in the 12th century. The discovery became known as the Templecombe Head. Over time, researchers proposed countless explanations. Some identified the figure as Jesus Christ. Others argued it depicted John the Baptist. Interest intensified when comparisons were made with the Shroud of Turin, with supporters claiming remarkable similarities between the two images. Who painted it, why it was concealed, and who placed it above those rafters are questions that still have no answers. Number 7. The giant sign above the Pacific sailors approaching Peru's coast have been seeing it for centuries. Long before airplanes, satellites, or modern archaeology existed, an enormous symbol stared down from the barren slopes of the Paracas Peninsula. Today it is known as the Paracas Candelabra, a geoglyph stretching nearly 600 feet across a hillside overlooking Pisco Bay. The scale alone is impressive, but the real mystery is its purpose. The figure was carved roughly 2 feet into the ground and reinforced with stones, allowing it to survive more than 2,000 years of desert winds. From the sea, its outline remains surprisingly visible even from miles away. Some see a giant candelabrum, others see a cactus or a symbolic staff linked to ancient deities. Spanish explorers reportedly interpreted it as a Christian sign. Modern theories range from navigation markers to ritual symbols connected with Viracocha, the creator god of Andean tradition. The strangest part is that all explanations seem possible, but none have managed to explain them. Number 6. The plant that shouldn't exist. Most fossils eventually find a place somewhere within the tree of life. This one has resisted every attempt. Discovered in Utah in 1969, the fossil was given the name Othniophyton elongatum, a title often translated as alien plant. More than 50 years later, that description still feels strangely appropriate. Researchers compared the fossil against hundreds of modern flowering plant families, searching for similarities that might reveal its identity. Nothing matched. It also failed to align with known extinct groups that have already been cataloged by paleobotanists. Instead of fitting into an established branch of plant evolution, it seemed to stand entirely on its own. A second specimen discovered decades later offered better preservation and additional details, giving scientists fresh material to study. Even with the improved evidence, classification remains difficult. The fossils are believed to come from plants that lived around 47 million years ago, but their closest relatives remain unknown. Number 5. The faces carved in stone near Tennessee in Tabasco. Archaeologists found 2 Olmec stone reliefs that appear to preserve the memory of powerful rulers from a distant age. While weathered by centuries, the figures still reveal remarkable details. Each carving measures 4.5 feet across and depicts a face with its mouth open in a dramatic expression, resembling the roar of a jaguar. Researchers think the individuals shown may be represented in a state of ritual trance, a condition possibly linked to ceremonies practiced during the region's formative period between 900 and 400 BC. Both figures wear elaborate diadems, symbols often associated with authority and status. Additional carvings include footprints positioned beside the faces and symbols connected to jaguars, animals that held immense spiritual importance throughout ancient Mesoamerica. While the artistic style provides valuable clues, many questions remain unanswered. Were these rulers, great Olmec priests, or legendary figures whose stories have long been forgotten? Number 4. The Stone Guardians of Morocco. A joint archaeological project involving researchers from Spain and Morocco has uncovered a collection of discoveries that shed light on an ancient society once living on the Tangier Peninsula. Among the most significant finds were 3 ancient cemeteries, several rock shelters decorated with artwork, and carefully placed standing stones that still overlook the landscape today. One burial in particular drew considerable attention. Dating to around 2000 BC, it may represent the oldest known cyst burial discovered in northwestern Africa. The grave consisted of a stone-lined chamber sealed beneath a large slab, preserving the remains of a single individual. Such burials often indicate established traditions and complex beliefs surrounding death and remembrance. Nearby rock shelters featured painted imagery similar to examples found in parts of the Sahara, suggesting cultural connections extending across vast distances. Standing stones reaching heights of approximately 8 feet were also found near several sites. Their precise placement appears intentional. Whether they served ceremonial purposes, marked important locations, or carried another meaning entirely is still unexplained. Number 3. The gold hats. No one can read. A farmer working near Schifferstadt made a discovery in 1835 that still puzzles archaeologists today. Hidden beneath the ground was a tall cone fashioned from hammered gold. Unlike anything anyone expected to find. Over time, 3 more examples surfaced across Germany and France, creating one of Europe's most unusual archaeological mysteries. Known as the Golden Hats, these objects date back to the Bronze Age. Some stand nearly 3 feet tall and are covered from base to tip with rows of carefully arranged symbols. Circles, rings, and repeating patterns cover their surfaces with astonishing precision. For years, experts assumed the designs were decorative. Then, another possibility emerged. Some scholars noticed mathematical relationships within the symbols and proposed that the hats may function as a lunisolar calendar capable of tracking time across years. If true, the hats were more than ceremonial objects. They may have been tools used by priestly elites responsible for understanding the movements of the heavens. The gold survives. The knowledge behind it does not. Number 2. The Egyptian vases that defy expectations. Ancient Egypt has produced countless, remarkable artifacts. Yet a collection of stone vessels continues to spark debate among researchers and enthusiasts alike. More than 80 finely crafted vases, carved from materials such as granite, quartz, and limestone, have drawn attention because of their extraordinary precision. Some examples are believed to be over 6,000 years old. What makes these vessels so unusual is the level of symmetry achieved by their makers. Modern scans and digital models have revealed measurements accurate to astonishing tolerances. In some cases, variations amount to only a fraction of an inch. Achieving that degree of precision using the simple copper and stone tools traditionally associated with the period has become the center of an ongoing discussion. Many archaeologists maintain that ancient craftsmen developed techniques capable of producing such results. Others argue that the manufacturing process remains poorly understood. But in reality, no one knows the truth. Number 1. The forgotten gospel. Warning: history is filled with books that survived by pure luck. The Codex Washingtonianus happens to be one of the most important. Discovered in Egypt in 1906 and dating to the 4th century, the manuscript preserves a version of the Gospels older than many texts used in later Christian traditions. What draws attention isn't its age alone. Buried within the Gospel of Mark appears a passage absent from most modern Bibles. In it, Christ speaks of Satan's reign ending while warning that terrible events still lie ahead. The wording feels unusual, almost like a fragment from a different theological world. Scholars have spent years debating why the passage disappeared from later versions. Some argue it reflected beliefs that gradually fell out of favor. Others suggest church authorities preferred alternative interpretations and omitted them during centuries of textual transmission. The manuscript offers no explanation. It simply preserves words that survived when countless others vanished. If you found this video interesting, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.